The Tao of Self-Confidence, episode 274. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. Well, hello friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have a phenomenal woman on the show today. She is a plus-size fashion blogger, and she also co-owns two companies, which is called Adevi Clothing and The Cult Curve, and I'm just really excited to have her on and share her story with us today. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Ratnadevi Manokaran. Ratna, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to our listeners.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Sheena. I love the idea of supporting women and empowering women, and I'm truly honored to be part of this and also very grateful. A little bit about me. I graduated with a business degree and I started to work in a call center for about 6 years or so. While working, I always felt like I was not really living or not really utilizing my potential. And I truly felt like the job that I had, like, it was just to make ends meet. And I was always looking out for something better, but I never knew what the better was, So I stayed in my job for about 3 years. I saved enough money to backpack in New Zealand for about 7 months. But when I came back, I was so assured that, okay, what I wanted to do was to travel. But I came back broke, and so I had to take another job. And again, I worked in a call center. This time I made a little bit more money, but I was still very unhappy. And I felt like in my inner sense of being that what I wanted to do was to travel, All I wanted to do was travel and enjoy life, and that's all. So while working the other job that I had, I decided that, I had to leave, and I went backpacking again for about a few months. And while traveling, I had to decide really at that point whether I wanted to continue backpacking or if I had to go and get a job and save money so that I can travel again. And then at that point, I looked at my partner and I said, look, I think I'm going to go back to the call center because I don't have a choice. This is the only thing I know how to do. And then he tells me, but what about this thing you've been talking about for so long? You've always wanted to start a plus size fashion store. You wanted to start blogging, and what about all that? And I'm like, nah, but I don't think I can do it. Like, there were lots of competition, and what if people don't understand my fashion sense, or what if they don't like my fashion sense? And then I put all the thoughts aside, and we just continued traveling. But one day, like, I just took out my journal. And I remember this because I was in Kanchanaburi and we were in front of this lake, or this river. And then I wrote down like why I wanted to start this business. And my goal the first one was to empower women. I knew at that point, like, what I wanted to do was to directly impact somebody else's life. So I'm an entrepreneur, and that's how I started my company, Adevi Clothing, in 2014. Here in Malaysia. And then I went on to co-own the Curve Cult with my business partner, who's Rani, and we own that in Singapore.
Awesome, and thanks for, sharing that lovely story. I mean, it's funny when we go out on our own, we're always so afraid of what if people can't accept us for who we are, not realizing we can always change our thoughts to what if they do, right?
Exactly.
I think sometimes, just being your authentic self is what's missing in the world. I mean, we have so much false beings out there that feel like they're the real thing when you're just your true self. That's when the true magic happens. So right now, what's your cultural background?
I'm Malaysian Indian, and I was born and bred in Malaysia. Both my parents are also Malaysian Indian. I would say my parents are quite liberal when it comes to certain things, but they're also very traditional at the same time. I don't know how that works, but yeah, that's a bit about my cultural background.
Thanks for sharing that. And I think that's something we all deal with. Parents, they can be open to things and not open to other things, right?
Exactly.
But we love them for who they are, and, we're grateful for them. And, what would be your favorite self-confidence quote?
I recently came upon this quote, and I love it. I love it with the true essence of my being. I hope I'm saying his name right, but it's Lao Tzu. And the quote goes, because one believes in oneself, one doesn't try to convince others. Because one is content with oneself, one doesn't need others' approval. Because one accepts oneself, the whole world accepts him or her.
I love that quote, and it's true, right? When we're just ourselves, we don't have to try to please other people, feel the need to seek attention because we are more than enough. And, when we realize we're more than enough, we can go out there and do anything. In your own words, what would be your definition of self-confidence?
I agree with you. I think when we live our life based on what other people's idea is of ourselves, we start to not live our life in our own truth. And so my definition of self-confidence is when you live your life in your own truth without caring about what people think about you and your choices, because that's the other thing, like people shame us on our choices as well. It's one thing to exist as yourself, but like choosing things and doing things your way, that is also like something that people want to contest with. For me, that's what it means to be confident.
Thanks for that definition. And Ratna, what was your life like before your discovery of self-confidence?
I felt like I was really living somebody else's life. I was always made to feel like I was very different. Like as a teenager, I was very opinionated, but I felt like I couldn't do these things. I couldn't speak my mind. I couldn't express myself because people will always tell me like, oh, you're too opinionated, you're too passionate, why can't you calm down for a second? And I felt like, oh my gosh, like I couldn't say a lot of things because I did not want to offend someone. I didn't want to feel like I always had to fight. I felt like I was always fighting to tell people like, look, like, why can't I be passionate and be okay? Why can't I be different, and why is different so bad? So also felt like at the same time, like I tried to please other people, but inside I felt like I was really letting myself down because I let people have their way with me, like in the sense, like if they felt like I was too opinionated, then if I kept quiet, I was giving in to them. But what about me? And it didn't help that I grew up a chubby kid, like I was fat, and I had to listen to so much like rap about, like how can you be happy, like you would have to lose weight, like shouldn't you, why are you eating this, like why aren't you not on a diet, shouldn't you be exercising? And then I started believing all these things. I started not liking my body, and at that point, like I wasn't as big as I am right now. And at that point, I hated myself. I hated the way I looked. And I believed them, and that it took so many years of listening to everything that people had to say about me, and like living that life. So I felt like I wasn't living my life because I had other people's opinions to listen to. And I could go on and on about this, but I wish that I had kind of got it a little bit earlier so that I could spare myself from all the heartache that I had gone through. But at the same time, I recognized that it was a journey, and I'm grateful for those experiences because I wouldn't be here at this point, having this conversation had I not gone through that.
Thanks for sharing that. And I think, we all go through that trying to live through other people's opinions, especially being Asian and growing up in an Asian culture. All our lives, we've been told what to do. And if we don't do
For
it,
sure.
and if we don't do it, it's like we're wrong, we're a bad child, we're disobedient, not realizing that, we're not meant to always live in a box. We're meant to step outside and do the things that we want. And what was that point in your life when you realized you were more than enough to go out there and do the things that you wanted?
I think the point is I got really tired. I got tired trying to prove that I was it was okay for me to do what I wanted to do. And that's when I realized that I couldn't just do things because you thought that it was okay for me to be in a job that I didn't like, or whatever. But that was the point. Like I realized that I just couldn't. I was really tired, basically.
Thanks for sharing that. And sometimes, we just wake up and realize, like, what are we doing to ourselves? We get sick and tired of our old situation that we have, something inside us that makes us want things to change. And it always has to start with us. It can't start with anybody else. When we realize we want change, we're aware of it, we go out there and do it. And because of that, what's your life been like now?
I feel like, and pardon the pun, but I feel like a weight has been lifted off. I feel like, wow, I don't even have to. I basically don't give, I can't say this, but I really don't care what people think of me anymore. And it feels really liberating. And we use this word so loosely sometimes, but it feels really good living your life as you want it to go, like as how you want it to be, and that you don't have to fit into this idea of what somebody thinks you should be or you should do. And I love it. I love the fact that I don't have to dim my light. I can be myself, and that I it's very open. This is who I am, and this is what I bring to the table. Like if you don't like it, then that's fine. And for the longest time, I wanted to feel so normal, and I wanted to have people around me approve me and give me validation. And it's taken me a long time, but I realize now that I don't need anybody's approval. As long as I truly believed in myself, like I was good. And that's how I came to accept who I was. There were lots of things that I hadn't come to accept, my weight, my hair even. And I finally have accepted who I am. And now if anyone says anything, it's going to deaf ears, because it doesn't matter, because I've accepted it. So yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. And it is the greatest feeling when you can accept yourself for who you are and not care about what other people think. And yeah, some people might think it's easier said than done, but it can be done. And things that are worth doing will take a little bit more time and effort, but it's worth it in the end. So, Ratna, to the woman who's listening to your episode, she may be in her own journey of self confidence. What would be that one tip you would give to her?
It's a few things. It's taken me some time to get here, but the most important thing is for you to love and accept yourself as you are right now. Don't wait until you lose that 5 or 10 pounds or whatever goal you have. Don't wait until you get a better job. Whoever you are right now, just learn how to accept it. Do it in small doses if you have to, but it's so important, because you only have yourself to depend on. And if you don't start loving yourself, then you're just going to go through life being really miserable, and you're just going to continue to listen to what somebody else's vision of what loving yourself means. And so take the time, learn how to love yourself. It's not easy, but it has to start somewhere. I'm still learning myself, and there are days where I don't even feel like being nice to myself. I feel like, oh, let's just sit on the couch and watch Netflix. But I still take the time to be good to myself, whether it means a pedicure or a walk in the park with my dog or something. I think it's so important to unlearn what we've been taught, over the years, and to relearn how to love yourself, because in the end, that's what really matters, to love yourself unconditionally.
Thanks for sharing all those tips. And it's so true. We have to learn to love ourselves and kind of let go of what other people think of us. And the moment we start doing that, the more we can go out there and do the things that we want, that we truly want. So, Ratna, if our listeners wanted to get to know a little bit more about you and what you do, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
You could actually go to Facebook, and we have two pages. It's called the Curve Cult, and the other is called Adevi Clothing. So if you're in Singapore, go to the Curve Cult on Facebook. Also have an Instagram account with the same name. And for people who are listening in Malaysia, you can go to Adevi Clothing on Facebook. And we're also with the same name on Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat even.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Ratna, you can also head on over to the taoofselfconfidence.com and search for Ratna's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else we talked about. And I just want to thank Ratna for taking the time to share her story and tips with us. So thank you so much.
You're most welcome, Sheena.
Listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence, and we'll catch you later. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of the Tao of Self-Confidence. Sign up for our free membership site to get more amazing resources for self-confidence by visiting our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits.